So we're here in Girona with Pete Stetina at right outside of La Fabrica, a really awesome coffee place. Thanks for joining us, Pete. We had a great time. We ran out to Pete on the roads a couple days ago.
Yeah.
You showed us a cool place.
Yeah.
Where did you find out about that?
What, the fountain or the climb?
Both of those. The
Fountain is just hearsay from other pros. There's that plant right next to it. A lot of the bottled water you buy in races, and it's that company. So, usually they set up the plant next to the sources, and so there is the sources for the public. And this one just happens to be a little bit fizzy, which is pretty special. So it was tasty.
It's kind of like San Pellegrino coming out of the water.
Yeah, the Spanish San
Right out of the
Pellegrino.
mountain.
Yeah, straight up. So.
Liam and I went back. There were people lining up with bottles.
Yeah.
It said only 10 liters allowed, but I think the guy in front of us is getting about 20.
Yeah, this is Spain. The rules are more guidelines.
Great. Well, you rode with us for a little bit, which was really cool, and we ended up going to the climb, and you took off on that climb. It seems like your form's pretty good. How are you feeling so far?
Yeah, it's coming. I've been training a lot since last summer, really, because I had the longest break of my life. So, I basically didn't take an off season when I was able to ride again. And so I've got a really good base, probably the best base I've ever had, but it's just everything takes longer to get back. So it takes a lot longer to get that race level, that high intensity, the high power, because it's been so long without it. And I lost so much muscle mass, so it's I have to do a lot more intensity than I ever have, and it still is coming back slower, but it's coming up. We're seeing the numbers tick up, and you guys caught me right at the end of my self-imposed 3-week training camp, living a monk lifestyle and riding my bike too much, and it's paying off. So the big goal is Tour of California for myself and the team, and then Tour de France with Boca Molema. So I got a little bit more time under my belt, and I got the left-right power meter at home, so I'm trying to watch the balance and make sure I'm trying to hit 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So without going into it too much, just can you tell us a little bit about your accident? I mean, I think pretty much a lot of people know about it.
Just
a little overview.
Okay. Last April, Tour of the Basque Country. One of the biggest races in the world besides the Grand Tours. Stage 1, we went up a big climb, down, reduced group. I'm not a sprinter, I was just finishing in the group for the same time, and then we come around the final corner in the last kilometer, and normally there's barricades or fences keeping the people out and protection from us and for them, and there was none of that. And then there were these metal poles sticking out in the road. The group didn't see it. They were, full sprint, head down, charged to the line, and we were going about 60k an hour, so 40 miles an hour. And then a few guys saw it last minute, swerved out of the way, and it just opened up right in front of me. I had no reaction time. So it was basically 40 miles an hour, blunt force impact, metal pole, kneecap leg. I ended up shattering my kneecap into a bunch of pieces, cracking the tibia all the way down, LCL ligament, and 5 ribs. So a lot of people thought my career was over. Spent 11 days in the Spanish hospital there in Bilbao. No air conditioning in the warmest month of April they've ever had, apparently. And no Wi-Fi, no TV. You had to pay for a TV that was at the far end of the room with like a punch card. And
what was going through your head at that point? I mean, was it just...
there's a whole lot. There was, is this the end? Maybe there's not the end. There's just... I definitely trying to translate everything in Spanish while under morphine and the technical lingo that the doctors were using, and trying to relay it to my team and my doctors in the US was a life experience. And then eventually I got discharged, had an epic story just to get out of Europe. Spent 4 months rehabbing in the US, first in Park City with Eric Hayden and his medical team and the BMC docs. And then, I went home and started rehab, and I had all the metal in my leg, and it was just the exercise in pain tolerance. Like basically your leg starts totally fused straight and you can't bend it, and you have to break the scar tissue. So they just crank it and try to break it apart, and you get like a degree a day. So it's just wrenching on it, and some days you get nothing and some days you get 2 degrees, and eventually I had just enough mobility in my knee that I could get over a pedal crank. And at that same time, it was about 3 months in, so they went in for another operation, and they took all the metal only out of my knee. So all the metal was out of my knee, and then that freed up even more, and then I could start to ride real slowly, and just that bending, all the time. Like that's way more than you could ever do in physical therapy. Just riding a bike is rehab. So that kind of pushed the scar tissue more, and was like kind of stretching it, and then so I got more and more flexion. And
But are there positives that you've been able to bring out of it at all?
I've I learned a lot about patience. When you're waiting for, I was never a patient person. Had a pretty short fuse, and no matter how much rehab you do or how hard you push it, you can't speed up a bone healing. You have to wait 3 months no matter what. So it's like, try to get as much flexion as you can in these 3 months, but you still have to leave the metal in there. And then there'd be setbacks. Like I did get an infection at one point because a screw started coming out of my leg that was too long. The Spanish doctors didn't cut it down, and when the swelling went down, the screw started coming out of my skin like a zit almost. And then so I had to go in for another operation and clip that, and then I got a little bit of an infection, so we had to deal with that. And it's just always dealing with these minor setbacks, and you can definitely push a lot of it to you can implement a lot of that adaptability to your training lifestyle. And then I also strengthened my bond with my wife a lot. She had to really nurse for me. I couldn't even carry the coffee cup to the couch after I made coffee in the morning because I was on crutches. And
After all that rehab, you now have a new pain tolerance. So is that also combined with the patience? Do you think that's on those long, grueling climbs?
I'm really hoping so. That's what I'm telling myself. But I guess we got to find out when I actually have the best form if something's different. But that's the hope.
Well, walk us through a typical training day here. You said you're doing some weight work afterwards. Still rehabbing.
Yeah, in Girona, it's been a pretty intense little camp for me. Now very rarely do I ever just have a fun ride. I don't just ride my bike. Like it really is work, and everything I do, even the rest days, is a specific wattage or a heart rate. And so my rides will say be broken up into, on the flats before you get to the climb, do 5 minutes at this higher pace, then drop down for 2 minutes and recover, just to boost the system a bit and create a workload in your legs. So then when you are doing the important work, it's after a more kilojoules and stuff, so it simulates going hard towards the end of a race. And then I do something like 3 by 15-minute climbs, but it's never just steady racing. It's always oscillating between maybe a little harder and then take it off easier, and you kind of buffer that heart rate and that lactate. And everything's always, every workout's different. More power, more aerobic threshold, and trying to keep it fresh. And then the whole game is just to keep it fun after doing this for so long is, it's fun to try to mesh the route to the workout and try to pick these 3 climbs that'll fit within the time zone. It gives you the amount of time to do a flat interval between the 2 climbs. And so it's like a game. And then, but it's all day now. The other day I did a 5-hour ride, and then I come home and I stretch real quick and pound a recovery meal, and then I go to the gym and I do about an hour in the weight room, and then finish up with 30 minutes in the sauna for heat tolerance, and then you're home. I mean, it's already 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
So hugely long.
Yeah, so I'm pulling, maybe training's only 5 hours, but I'm actually working 6 or 8 hours a day. So, yeah.
So, I mean, is there a chance that this is actually going to make you stronger then? Because you said you had never done really weights that much before. I mean,
I hope so. I think my seated power's better. I'm always a climber that stands up more, but I think it definitely helps seated power. So hopefully the TT too, which is another thing that I've need to work on. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about you moved to Trek. You were signed with Trek this year. What does that represent? I mean, how was that?
It was just the right time, in terms of, well, everything. It's just, we were talking to him. By we, I mean my agent and I. My agent does a lot of this, and we were talking to him a little bit, but I was pretty happy with BMC. They're a great team, and we left on very amicable terms too. But then this crash happened, and for me, I realized that on a system like Trek, I can have a bit more opportunities for myself. I mean, with this crash, I realized at the end of the day, it is your career and your family, and maybe always riding in the service of others is not the best thing. And yeah, BMC, I actually got my chances in California as well, and so it was great. But Trek, they are in a revamp year. I think a lot of people can see that. It was just the right time to come into this structure. Segafredo came on board, and all of a sudden there's this renewed vigor around the team, and they're actually really building the team up a lot. Like, it's not the same Leopard, Trek, Radio Shack incarnation that you think of. It's technically only the second or third year that Trek has owned the team, so they're really recreating the whole system with their company. And so, they needed some Americans because Trek is an American bicycle company, and California and Colorado are important to them. And then they needed some climbing help, especially for Boca in the Tour. And I've proven that I can be a good mountain domestique in the Grand Tours. And so it just seemed like a great fit. I got some options, American influence, an American race schedule, a good calendar, and belief that I could come back. They saw when I finished Utah that, okay, if you're already finishing a race, we believe you can come back to the highest level. And so they're really patient with me, and it's just everything lined up. So.
Yeah, it seems like BMC has long-term strategies too, but it seems like Trek has a real long-term plan. From Liam and I have been kind of involved with the team a little bit, just as fans, super fans, if you will. But and we know a lot of the guys, so they definitely have a long-term, I think, vision. Andy Schleck is done now, and Cancellara's got his last year in his contract, so they kind of need to rebuild and revamp who they are and their identity, because they were always the Schleck brothers and Cancellara. So now they are changing that a bit, and so I think it's a really good time to come in, and all of a sudden you have this different style, with Ryder and Keel and I too, that, and a bunch of new signings, Jack Bobridge, and it's just it's a new personality. So it's been fresh, and it's a lot of fun, and I think you'll be surprised at how much they contend for races this year. Have you studied this year's tour route?
Not so much. Step by step. For me, it's first get my strength back. I mean, I looked at the presentation, and there's some really cool mountains in there, and I just do the mountain stuff. No cobble stage, which is nice.
So you've got the Ruta del Sol coming up. What is your your route map? I mean, how would you like things? If things could go all as well as you wanted them to up through the tour, how would the different races go? How would it unfold for you, like in the ideal?
Well, I think Ruta del Sol is going to be the first time that I race with Boca, and so for us, it's going to be more finding how each other work in the peloton and just kind of getting that system going, and whether we're up there both towards the top end of GC at the end, or I can go for a stage while helping him, or however it works out. It's just early season Spanish race. I'm still fresh off my injury in relative terms. I need it. All the doctors say I need at least a year before I'm back to my old level. So, it's just getting going. Catalunya would be a nice race next, just because I know every road here. I've done that race every year I've been a pro, and I live in Girona, so if there's some opportunities there, take them. And then for me, it's all eyes on California. I mean, it's my home race, and I recon all the stages, and I have the GC leadership for the team there, and it's a big goal for Trek. So I have my first big peak at California.
Awesome.
chill it out a bit, build up through Tour de Suisse, and then go to the Tour and help Boca try to hit the podium. So that's
Awesome.
the Tour run in a nutshell.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be definitely following along.
Thanks.
And, when you come back with the tour, we'll be out there
Appreciate it.
cheering for you.
Cool.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Thanks, Pete. Thanks for sitting down with us.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.